Why not ask some friends to join you for a beading party? Erin Prais-Hintz is here to talk about blog hops, earring parties, and other fun ideas for making jewelry with friends. This looks like a lot of fun, Erin.
It is. If you love doing beading, why not share that with people that you love to be with?
Yeah, some great groups to invite would be like your book group.
Oh yeah, and like your college roommates, if you had like a girls' weekend get together with them, or a bachelorette party, all of the bridesmaids could get together and make some jewelry to wear to the wedding and to gift to the bride as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and what a great way to share your passion for beading with your friends.
Right, so it doesn't really have to be people that you know in the area where you live that do beading. This is a great way to experience something new for those people who've never done beading before, and you can do lots of different projects with this as well.
Definitely. And one thing that we should talk about is how to set up the table.
We definitely should. So when you're having a beading party in person with your friends, it's important to keep in mind that you want to have lots of different areas set up for each person to have enough elbow room, enough space at the table. And you're going to want to make sure that you have some snacks, because who wants to have a party without snacks?
That's right. That adds to the fun. Just make sure they're not too close to the beads. We don't want to get those confused.
Yeah, so you don't want to eat the beads, so make sure that they're just snacks that aren't going to get your fingers all dirty as well. So pretzel sticks are good, but cheese puffs are not good.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
That's right. So you'll want to have some snacks, obviously something to drink. You can play a little music in the background. Just make it a festive, fun time.
Oh, I love the idea of creating a party playlist for your jewelry making party.
Oh, perfect idea.
Inspiration.
Absolutely. So in addition to having food to eat and a place for everybody, you'll want to make sure that you have some beading supplies on hand for everybody at your party. And we've set up some examples here. Just taken some strands of spacer beads and some rhinestone beads. You're going to want to have some findings. And I like to make sure that I have findings in various metal tones, because not everybody wants to make something silver, or they might want to mix it up a little bit. So make sure that you have some options for people.
You're a really thoughtful host, you know that?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So you'll want to have some ways to finish and what to string on. So make sure you have some stringing supplies, and just have a good variety of things so that you can tap into whatever anybody's creativity is telling them to do.
Yeah, definitely. And I like the idea too of having some sample projects.
Oh yes, absolutely. So have some ideas of what they might be able to work with. They can make whatever they want, whatever they feel inspired to make. They might want to make a necklace, they might want to make some earrings, they might want to make a bracelet. I had a great idea to do an all earring party where you could have, like, say 4 friends over and give them the directions of how to make some earrings. This is a great beginner project because you can, as the hostess, show them how to make a simple loop or a coiled loop, or that's really it. All you need to do get started to make earrings, and then have them go to town, make some earrings in the same color palettes, and then when you're done, give them each a little organza bag that they can put their 3 pairs of earrings in that they made, and then they would gift them to the person on the opposite side of the table. So they're making something and learning something new, but then they're giving it away, but they'll also get 3 pairs of earrings right back. So it's kind of a fun project.
Definitely. It's a party favor built right into their project that they're doing.
Actually, yes, it is. And so as the host, if you're accustomed to making jewelry, you may want to make some projects. And one of the things that you and I do on a regular basis with our friend Molly Shaler is we do a virtual beading party, because we don't live in the same state.
That's right.
So this is something that you can do even if you're not on site with your friends. So you can do this through email, through blogs. There's a lot of really cool ways to do that. So one thing that I do every month is I come up with a palette. This is an example of one of the palettes that I came up with. And this is based off of a really beautiful contemporary piece of artwork. And I just selected colors that were in the palette and then inspired you and Molly to do some creating based off of it.
Yes, I love this one, and I love the idea of giving everybody a little bit of a challenge too. Especially if you have seasoned beaders who are coming to your party, that you might inspire them that way by using a color palette. And so this one is one that we do on our blogs, where we travel around and visit each other's blogs, and these are some of the projects that we made.
Yes.
So this is one that Molly Shaler made, and she's coming to our party later, right?
Yeah, you bet.
Right. Yeah. Now this one is a piece that I made, and I wanted to share with you just a little tip. This is a little something extra here that maybe not for your beading party, but if you have a lot of people who are coming to your party that make jewelry, this would be a good tip to show them. So what we'll do is pass a head pin through a bead here, and go through the loop. And this is just to give you an idea of the construction of this piece. These are all head pins that are running vertically down through the horizontal parts.
That is such a cool construction.
Thank you. Well, you know, it has a lot of texture to it. That's one thing that I like, mixing the stone and the glass beads together. And the palette really was the inspiration for the whole piece. And then pass this through here.
Oh, I see. So then it gives you a little separation.
Right. And oops, I forgot to put my chain. So that's where I want to connect it to the top of the necklace, is passing this through here.
I see.
And then pass my bead onto the pin. And then I'm going to pick this whole thing up and make a little loop here with my round nose pliers.
Do you need to cut the wire first or just
You know
loop it
what?
from there?
I'm kind of do it both ways.
You
Either
do.
I cut it. That's one thing about having a party. You always learn something new
I
from
know.
everybody there.
I would never have
I
thought of
either
that.
cut it to a finger's width here and then loop it, or I eyeball it and roll it back here. And then I can get my loop perfectly placed
Oh, perfect.
and clip off any extra here. And then
That is something that I always struggle with, is how much to cut off. So making the loop first and then cutting the excess.
sometimes it works out, you know.
That's a
I
great
like to do
tip.
it that way. And then I make my loop a little bit smaller with my chain nose pliers and bring my little crimp cover over the top.
Oh, so that's how you
So-
get that little flash of silver on the end.
That's right. And then you can use your chain nose pliers or your mighty crimping tool to squeeze it shut here on the end.
Oh, that is so clever.
Well, it's, you know, I think that's the fun thing about sharing your passion with friends, is you're always learning something.
That's true.
And so tell us about the beaded rings that you made on your necklace.
Yeah, so my necklace is right here, and what I did was, when I was inspired by the palette, I always try to find a way to get every single color in the palette into whatever I'm making. And this particular palette had a lot of divergent colors.
Sure does.
So it was really kind of a challenge for me to figure out a way to make them all play together in the same necklace. And so what I did was I started making little rings of each of the individual beads that I had selected for the colors in the palette, and I just really basically alternated the silver and the different stones, and I like the different textures and shapes
Me
of the
too.
stones. So
Yeah.
you've got squares, you've got these heishi shapes that are little discs, you've got these little lentils, and you've got little chips. And then to add in another section, I did a section with rounds. So basically, I take a little length of beading wire, maybe about 6 inches or so for each link. And I started with a crimp tube. So the first thing I did was I put a crimp tube on. And I know that sounds like, why couldn't you do this at the end? But I'll show you why in a second.
Okay.
So there's a certain way that I kind of trick for myself. So then I just made a little pattern with these rounds, and I did this so many times that I screwed up and had to cut it apart. So one of the first things I have to say is, once I've got most of my beads on, I have to remember to stick them through the link.
Yes, it's just like making wrapped loops.
Right.
Before you know it, you've made all your wrapped loops and none of them are connected.
Exactly. So this is a good lesson for me to remember. So once I have connected that through the final loop, then I have to bring the other wire back through the crimp. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of crossing the wires through the crimp. But I also want to cross them through some of the beads to kind of hide that little bit of wire. So what I discovered using these little teeny tiny bead stoppers is, I hope I can do this so it can be seen, is I leave the bead stopper on this one end, but I have a little bit of wiggle room, so it's kind of moving a little bit. And then I can start by threading this one side that's not on the crimp, through the crimp, and hopefully through that extra little bead. Should be enough room there. Get that in there.
Yeah, you know, sometimes it's tricky. It's good to have extra lighting too at your jewelry making party, and even magnifiers for people who might need to use them at your table.
Thank you. I forgot about the lighting. If you don't have good lighting, you won't be able to see anything. So I pass that through with leaving this on. Then I take off the little bead stopper on that side and put it on this side so it doesn't all go rolling on the floor.
Sure.
And now I can do the same thing with the opposite side. I can pass it through the other wires.
I love that technique for creating a beaded chain too,
Yeah.
of any kind. I mean, I know you're using it as a focal point in your
Right.
necklace, but it could also be the whole chain if you
Oh,
wanted
absolutely. I think that would be really cool. So then once I've got the beads secured in the crimp, then all I'm doing is I'm not actually making, using the crimping tool, I'm actually just flattening it with my chain nose pliers. And it kind of mimics the spacer bead as well.
Sure.
So I really don't feel the need to hide it. But if I did want to hide it, I could use one of those crimp covers or some jump rings or something like that. But I don't
Yeah.
really feel the need to hide that. So then when I take this off, it should be secure. And just do a little trimming on the excess.
Yeah, so that's a great tip to show people too who maybe haven't made jewelry before.
Right.
And then you could string this onto some leather or make beaded
yeah.
strands on the side.
Absolutely.
Be really simple.
Add a little bit of chain. That's all I did there was just loop some chain through. I didn't even
Yeah.
attach it. I just kind of looped it right through there. So that's all
Good
I did.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see you did the same kind of a thing or with the color palette in the bracelet too, which is really pretty.
I did, and used a little bit different shaped beads with the square, the flat ones. That was a little bit of a challenge for making it because they are double holes. And so what I did was I started with about a 10-inch piece of wire, and I started by stringing the beads in one direction through the holes and then kind of looped its way back around the other way.
All right.
And then just made, it's really just one big continuous loop on there.
Well, it's really pretty.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about beads too.
Let's talk about it. So when you invite your friends to your party, you can invite them to bring beads within a color palette. And since we are working in this color palette with the reds and the blues and the yellows and the greens, this would be a good project to give them the palette ahead of time so they kind of know what's coming. This could be the invitation as well.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That would be great. So basically when they come to the party, you just invite each participant to bring a strand of beads within that color palette. And I brought these kind of golden beads because they look like the gold color, or you could bring even metal beads because I think of, we've talked about this before, I think of colors or metals as colors. So silver would be, or gray would be more of a silver tone, and an orange could be a copper. And in this case we have sort of a yellow, so I was thinking of the gold.
Right, so you can be flexible when it comes to the colors.
Yep, and so when they come to the party, then you would just have them bring their beads in, and you could even do this in a big pot. That would be kind of clever. You could have, if you had a big pot or a big bowl, it doesn't really matter. And you're just going to have them drop all the beads into the bowl. So everybody is going to end up bringing a totally different mix to the party.
And then you're going to blend it up.
Yep, you're going to mix it all up, stir it all up. Mm-hmm. All right. And then during the party, you're going to scoop out a little grouping of the beads, and this is what you would be working with to create.
I could see this making a really great base for making a bunch of earrings, like you were talking about. Or you can make stretchy bracelets with this. That would be really quick. Yeah. Memory wire bracelets are great too.
I had a really good idea that with the bead stew, you could, as the hostess, start a progressive sort of beading party project. So while everybody's making their own projects, you could pass around a length of beading wire, let's say about 36 inches, and ask everybody when it comes to their place that they need to bead using the stew, bead about 4 or 5 inches of that, and when it gets back to the hostess, she would finish it off with a lobster claw clasp, and then it would become like a door prize for the party.
Great idea.
That would be something fun to give away, and it would match everything that they made. So
yeah, I've also heard about parties for baby showers, where each person contributes a special bead, same kind of thing as the progressive goes around while you're all working on your projects. And then the mom wears that necklace while she's having the baby.
Oh,
she can think about all the women who are at her party.
Yeah, everybody who's there supporting her. And that would be a great thing for a bridal party to do as well. They could do something in the colors of the wedding, and she could wear it at the rehearsal dinner that weekend.
Yeah, now you have a great tip for working with seniors too.
I do. Recently, I had the pleasure of going to an assisted living facility, and I brought a project to bead with them, and I kind of came up with a project that had to be something that seniors could do. So I devised a way to use beading supplies and something that they could see and work with, because their hands and their fine motor skills are a little compromised in their eyes, and so you really need to think a little bit differently. But it was very rewarding. We used black leather cord instead of beading wire because it's a little bit easier to see and handle. And I made sure I found beads that could fit that black leather cord so it would be easy to string. And the ladies just loved it. They just ate it up. And I learned so much about each one of them.
I bet. What a great way to share their personal stories, too.
It was. There was one lady who was a model in her former days, and she wanted every black and white bead. So I had to go around the table and find all the black and white beads. And there was another one who really loved these blingy, sparkly beads, and that was fun, too.
Well, and I also, not to change the subject from the seniors, because I think that is such a great story, I also want to make sure that we talk about your bookmark party favors.
That's right. Okay, so we're going to start with a length of cord. This is leather, about 12 inches or so. And then you're going to use the fold-over crimp ends to make a little loop on the end. I like to fold them over just a little bit, overlapping that, so that I can hold on to it with a pliers, and then fold the crimp in. I already have one created right here. And then you're just going to take some beads. This is kind of like great project for leftover beads. So if you have leftover beads, and who doesn't, instead of having them roll around on the floor, this is a great project. So I'm just going to string a couple of these little spacers, and I have this cute little dragonfly wings. So we're going to put that on there so it kind of looks like a little dragonfly.
Yeah, perfect.
And find the hole on this one. And so then I would just use my pliers to make a wrapped loop. And before I close the loop, I want to make sure that I add that to the beaded, or to the leather. You could also use a little jump ring if you wanted to. Make a little wrap loop.
Perfect.
And then I like to put something coordinated but different on the other side. And so I would probably use some different beads, like this is just a little strand of beads that I had created. And I like to make sure that one side is a little bit longer than the other and sometimes a little heavier, because I think it dangles down inside the book really nice. So you would just attach that again to the other side, and you would have this little beaded bookmark. And I like to put them on a little card. Just cut a little notch in the card and wrap it around there, and this makes a nice little place setting or a little
It does
party
make
gift.
a really great party favor. Good idea.
And in addition to that, at the end of the party, it's kind of fun to give away something. And so on the back of one of the pallets, we put a little sticker that says, "You're the winner."
Yeah.
And the winner would get a little door prize.
That's right, and you could use a DVD, you could use some of the tools maybe if you wanted to donate something like that, or you could use some of your beads too.
Right, or even some old magazines or something that would kickstart their creativity.
Right, well these are a lot of really inspiring ideas for hosting your own jewelry making party. Thank you so much.
Thank you.